Hey everybody, welcome to another week. We're talking WandaVision. This is episode 5 of the WandaVision review show, and we're talking episode 5. Once again, we have our guest, Tatiana Ramirez, Malik Patterson. What are your thoughts of this week's episode?
Whew. This episode was so intense and captured you from your seat. You completely forgot that they were supposed to be set in the 80s this time. That wasn't even a focal point for me. I mean, I like to see the subtle changes in the house, like the island in the middle of the kitchen. I thought that was pretty great. But from the start, they just kind of hit the ground rolling, and now we're finally getting to, I guess, the meat and potatoes of the show.
Definitely, yeah. I was gonna say too that things are slowly starting to come up. I have my dog in the background trying to comment, my neighbor's dog, on the show too, so he liked it too.
I can tell a lot of excitement there.
There's so much going on. I mean, the show overall is incredible, and I think it's just getting better and better each episode that's coming out now.
Yeah, and that's the one thing we got to talk about. We got to talk about from the beginning because the show starts off and automatically, it's 80s related. It looks like Family Ties, has that feel of Family Ties, especially with the painting for the show name. But also, too, besides that, you see the neighbor comes into the door and literally stops and asks Wanda, should I redo it?
Mm-hmm.
Which caught Vision, and it's interesting when you see Vision's face.
That was something I was going to mention too, because you see Agnes, and the fact that she even said, do you want me to redo the scene? It's kind of like, is Wanda controlling her? Well, we know she's kind of controlling almost everything, but is she, telling her what to do, or does Agnes already know, oh, you redo scenes, should I go back and redo it, since you didn't want him to kind of see that?
That's a great point, and not to skip towards the end, but when they got into that argument, her and Vision, to bring it back to the point that you're talking about, I think she created the hex, and I think she kind of brought people in or allowed people to enter in who weren't a threat. But I don't think she controls every aspect of what happens. I think she controls what would be near and dear to her, such as her home, her neighbors, the people that she considers friends, and then Vision when he's at his job. I think she controls that. But as far as what else happens in Westview, I think she kind of lets them kind of just be on their own. I think she controlled their minds and then let them live a whole new life inside of Westview.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Because then we see the twins. And all of a sudden, you see them grow up in seconds.
That also raises the question that I had. Mm-hmm. The twins growing up, is Wanda controlling that? Or do the twins have that special power on their own? Because as we kind of go throughout the episode, she tells them, hey, don't try to grow yourself up from being 10 years old because your dog passed and you want to just not have to live this experience. I want to know, do they actually have some sort of powers, and is that part of their powers, or is that something that she allows them to do per se, but she's really the one controlling it?
Exactly, and that's the thing. The twins are Wiccan and Speed. They have powers, but that's the whole thing I'm questioning. Are they real? Did she actually bring them into existence?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And we've seen them with the dog, and you could tell there was another dead giveaway when the dog licks the light socket and doesn't get injured.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of things that in just a few minutes of scenes that you're just kind of questioning, what is this even more? And I think Vision's like us and questioning, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, right. But in this episode, in the previous episodes, yeah, he was already kind of catching on that strange things were happening. But in this episode, he's actually starting to question Wanda, what is going on? And he's already, coming up with these questions that hopefully we're getting answers to soon. Because, about the kids, that was something that I was curious about, because I want to know, because I'm trying not to spoil it, but we know that like
spoil it already. We
fine,
got it.
I'll let
It's
it go.
hard
You
not
know,
to.
it's hard not to.
It's hard-
But the fact that they mentioned that she has people as hostages, so
Mm.
it's like, did she get these kids? Did she get these babies, and then like they turn into kids? And it's like, how does this? I want to know that process. Like, how is that going on?
Well, that kind of goes back into Monica's point. I think I have to hold what Monica Rambeau says as some sort of validity and some sort of weight. I think the kids are actually hers, like Monica said, and I think that she can bring things in, but once things are in, it's an entire different world and different universe inside of there now. So I do agree. I don't know if these kids, or I mean, we'll find out if the kids are really hers if they bring it up again, or if they find the IDs of the actual kids and then she just brought these two random boys. But then how is she able to, how are they able to age up so fast? Because I think the only things that she controls are the only things that happen so rapidly are things that she can control. How do you age these boys but then not age everybody else around her?
yeah. And then also too in this episode we go outside of the bubble at the hexagon. We see Monica Rambeau recovering from when she got thrown out. But also too, we're learning a lot more. We're seeing that they're debriefing the whole situation of who Wanda is. We get to see how Wanda got Vision, how got Vision's body to be able to bring him back to life. And then of course we hear the whole retelling from Avengers Age of Ultron and how everything happened. And my curious thing is, as we're in the bubble, outside the bubble, what does Monica Rambeau have with Captain Marvel?
That's a really good question. And I know it kind of piggybacked off of what we were saying last time of who we thought the special guest was. I still think Captain Marvel might have a guest appearance. If not this season, then next season, because why would they bring up such a pivotal character in the show if we're not going to see anything about her, if that's the only time she's mentioned?
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I did notice, I mean, I know we were talking about it before, she's by far the strongest character I've seen in the MCU. I mean, I know Captain Marvel she's got her powers from the Infinity Stone as well, but I've never seen, from reading comics, from watching all these movies and shows, I've never seen somebody create an entire universe in and of itself. I mean, I know Doctor Strange can do a lot of different things as well. I know he's pretty strong as well, but I don't know. She's on a different level.
I agree. And that's the one thing, like, I'm curious because like it almost looked like resentment towards Captain Marvel for some reason. For Monica Rambeau when Darcy brings up what about Captain Marvel, or starts talking about Captain Marvel, and she just kind of like looks like she's pissed off or some type of hostility, or maybe it dwells back to, and I'm reading into things, but when her mom was dealing with cancer, maybe she wasn't there. Maybe there's a hostility towards that. Who knows? But to move forward, we do see Wanda break out of the force, the hexagon force field into reality when Monica Rambeau sends in a drone. And that was an interesting scene because it's kind of like she did a spell that kind of reminded me of what Magneto would do when she forces the guns to the director, which was really kind of cool, especially taking mind control, because it kind of shows you the evil side of Wanda.
Right. We kind of go from Wanda Max to like Scarlet Witch in a sense when we first were kind of introduced to her and what she could do. But for some reason, no matter how iffy or how bad the show may get, I'm still kind of pulling for her in an odd way. Because I feel like she could go really bad. Because it's all for family. It's all for what she's lost. Because I mean, after Endgame, she had nobody else. She didn't really trust any. I mean, she barely trusted Avengers. And that was only really to save Vision and to save Pietro. But then we saw Pietro died, and then Vision died. So then it was just like, now what do I do? I don't have anyone else.
Yeah.
But
And that's the thing. There's something that she said that kind of really answered a lot of what, like we had talked about in the past, that is there some type of pain or PTSD that she's holding on to? And she pretty much says, I have everything that I want now.
mm-hmm.
Which kind of answers the fact that a lot of this is, if there is somebody controlling or helping her in this to kind of tell her, hey, if you want to deal with your pain or not deal with your pain, this is what you should do. And I'll help you with it, because everything she wants is in that bubble.
And that also kind of raises a question for me. We still haven't got a definitive answer on why they chose Sword instead of Shield. Because as of right up to this point, we haven't seen anything intergalactic almost in a sense. Like Sword, they deal with the bigger stuff outside of Earth, and we haven't seen anything outside of Earth. This has all been earthly type of behavior, but we haven't seen any sign of Shield.
Well, Shield is disbanded still, I guess. In that, if we're going in this, it's still disbanded because of the Hydra influence and everything that Shield. I don't know. And I mean, and it's hard to say that. Yeah, they could have rebuilt Shield after that,
right?
But they never really touched on what happened with Shield.
Yeah, it raises a lot of questions, and as more questions are being answered, and as we go deeper, I'm having more questions as a hardcore fan. How do you feel,
Tatiana?
Yes. No, sorry. No, it's because I'm trying to get like that neighbor dog not to like interrupt and try to interrupt right over. I know, and it's like right when I'm about to talk too. It kind of knows.
Right there.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm like so intrigued with like everything that's going on, and the fact that Monica is actually trying to like figure out what's going on and trying to help her. That was a scene where I was kind of like, why is she trying to help? Like, is she really trying to get the answers, or is she actually trying to be a friend after seeing what like being in text and everything that went on? But I'm kind of like, I don't know, it's confusing because like we want to know what's actually going on when she controls their minds, like what she powers inside of them, like I guess programming them, to think like what to censor and what not to say, since they kind of turn into someone they're not. And the fact that how Vision even mentioned that he was scared, and the coworker being confused and like wanting to know who they truly are.
I think if there's anybody who could help from the outside, I think Monica's the only person as of right now who can get to Wanda, because when she was inside, Wanda knew that she didn't belong there because she wasn't an original character, but she allowed her to come in and she trusted her. It wasn't until she almost spoiled her plans or her perfect life that she kind of exiled her. So I think she's going to let her back in slowly, but it might take some time. One thing that really intrigued me was Vision and how Vision really does it. I mean, we know he died, but now that he's slowly finding out, how is he going to react to Wanda? And will he even know that he didn't want to be brought back to life once he died officially anyway? Because all his memory from before is wiped. So that's a really intriguing point.
And that's a good point to go to the big whole subject of this whole thing on this episode, because you brought it up and we got to talk about it now. Tell them a little bit about what happened between Vision and Scarlet Witch, Malik, about this almost comes to a confrontation.
Well, I mean, Vision he's from what I've gathered from the previous episodes, he notices the little things, but I think Vision really embarks the husband role of don't ask, not really just husband, but significant other role of don't ask, don't tell. I know my significant other's doing something. I know I may not completely agree with it, but you know, happy wife, happy life, and vice versa. I don't ask anything, I don't say anything, but now he's reaching a boiling point because there's too many things that they've agreed on that they're not connecting anymore. They're not on one page, and now he's reaching a point to where he wants questions answered and she won't give them to him. And I thought it was amazing how they broke the rule of not really the rule of thirds, the wall of thirds, and how he said, okay, I'm tired of these credits going and we just gonna fast forward to the next decade. I'm tired of skipping ahead and everything kind of transcending. I need answers, and I need answers now. And then that's when she's still holding on to Vision from before, and that's why she kind of said, you've never spoke to me like this. But he doesn't know her besides him being his wife. He doesn't remember meeting her for the first time like he did. And I think that's where the conflict is going to happen. And I think that's only the beginning. I think we're going to see more conflict next episode for sure between them two, not necessarily into a fight, but I think she's going to have to start answering some questions, especially now that Pietro's here. I mean, I can't hold it anymore. How did he get inside? Where did he come from? How did he get there? What's going on? That was not the biggest plot twist at the end of an episode.
That was something that was really cool, to be honest. But Tatiana, what did you think of all that in the end, and especially with that last little nugget at the end of the show?
Well, I was gonna say, that we had never seen like an argument like that between like Wanda and Vision, and that argument was intense. And I thought, I'm kind of questioning, is this guest that appeared, is this the special guest? Is this like the unexpected guest that like we kind of didn't really think of would reappear? But the fact that Vision even mentioned, like, I'm tired of all this, how Malik was mentioning, seeing how she is the one, how she controls like what decade they're going to next. And I'm kind of wondering, he's saying that it's wrong, but I'm curious to know if he's actually going to want to try to work with her and kind of contribute to like her world and kind of make it both worlds for them, because Wanda's noticing that her world, her perfect world that she's trying to have, it's kind of coming to an end since the show is already coming out.
Yeah, I was just laughing because when you were talking, the dog started barking again.
I need some superpower to remove that dog right now.
But to talk about Pietro, Wanda was like, she was telling Vision that wasn't me. Mm-hmm. And you could tell when Vision just didn't believe her. And it was hard to believe her. And that's what I'm at too. How do you know it was her or somebody else? And then like Pietro, Quicksilver, it isn't the Quicksilver from the MCU that we've seen already. It's Quicksilver from the Fox X-Men series. Right. Evan Peters. Mm-hmm. So this brings up the question of the multiverse now. Knowing that Wanda is a part of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, does she pull people, or can she, or whoever it is, pull people from other multiverses and bring them into this MCU? And is this how they're going to bring the X-Men, or some of the X-Men, into the MCU?
I just came up with this question. That would raise, because when she answered the door, usually she fakes like she doesn't know, but we kind of always knew from episode 1 she was in some sort of control. This is the first time I've seen her not completely in control, because we all know she misses her brother and she loves her brother almost as much as she loves Vision. Mm-hmm. But there's still a hole in her perfect world inside of Westview. Is there a hole that is leaking people from another dimension, and will that bring on somebody bad from that? That makes sense. Like, is there some point in Westview where there's magic and there's almost like a time machine, or kind of like a something where you can step in and out of? and that's how he got here. I don't know. I'm reaching. I'm fishing, but with this
You're
show,
like,
with this show, I mean that's what we have to do to figure stuff out because so many things happen in just 10 minutes of one episode.
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Have we all seen the X-Men? I'm sure. I'm taking it. You've all seen the X-Men Fox movies, right?
Yes.
Tatiana.
No.
Oh, gotta go back. That's homework for this week to next.
Getting there.
But it's like, because here's the thing, and this is what I was listening to other after shows when the show premiered last night, and I was thinking about it because it's like you can't really. It's hard since they're children of the atom.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. How are you going to do that in this universe when they haven't really clarified about with World War II or anything like that, and what if there was such a thing or any effects of nuclear blasts that change the chemistry of a person to become mutants.
Right.
But if you go on a multiverse angle, that's already questions have already been answered. Can you bring in those characters from another multiverse into this one? Where since Wanda and whoever else, because something tells me like there's a lot of names like Mephisto and other people being a part of this. But it's like it's an interesting way of doing it. And it wouldn't shock me since Kevin Feige likes doing things like this, especially since they like with Batman versus Superman or with Flashpoint coming up pretty soon in the DCU, that they beat them to the punch, and this is the way they do it through a multiverse angle.
Essentially, it's very possible. But then, is this show? Are we watching the new catalyst of the entire MCU through this show?
Mm-hmm.
Will everything almost essentially run through WandaVision? Or almost run through WandaVision as far as the X-Men are concerned?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I like the idea if they can pull it off and it works. Because I'm all for quirky inventions and throwing things in and not going the traditional route, but it just has to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing how they introduce Pietro and how he got there in the next episode will kind of answer that question for us, I think.
Exactly, and I think so too, because here's the thing. Now that they're going this route, it would really suck if they don't follow through.
Right.
Because it kind of like leaves it like, okay, you dangled a carrot, but this isn't the way we're going to bring in the X-Men. This isn't the way we're going to do it. It's going to be somewhere else down the line. So it kind of like, I don't know. It's really so difficult to figure out, because I wouldn't want to be Kevin Feige right now when you have two very popular properties in the Fantastic Four
Mm-hmm.
and the X-Men, because a lot of people do like the X-Men, even though there's certain films in that series that I just hate. One, Dark Phoenix, terrible. It's crap.
Okay.
Also X-Men 3, where they did the Dark Phoenix storyline there.
I feel like it could have been done better, but I was a kid,
Yeah.
so I mean, I was happy to see it.
Like the first one and the second one I liked. The third I hated. I like First Class. I like Days of Future Past. But I hated the last one. The last one was just junk. I don't know. I just didn't like it. And that's why I say, like, I like the characters and I like the actors who played those characters in those films.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't their fault that it was a bad script and it was just junk. But it's like, it'd be interesting. But I wonder if they did bring, let's say, a Magneto from the Fox universe of movies or Fox X-Men into this, what would people think of that? Because to me, I feel like there'll be either Michael Fassbender or Ian McKellen, whichever one comes up, people would go crazy.
it raises a lot more questions.
Mhm.
Answers I don't have any answers to, but whew, that would be pretty interesting. I know we're way over your head right now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. She's
So we
like,
kind of like transcended it, super nerded out for you.
uh-huh.
Just hang up, just hang in there, and a lot of your questions will be answered.
Exactly.
Catch up, you're gonna be right.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
Yeah.
I gotta
And
get
and Tatiana's just like, I can't believe I have these two nerdy people that I work with. They look so normal. They look so like cool. And this just brought them down.
No, I just wish I had a trailer, so I can kind of like see what you guys are talking about, and with WandaVision too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, this is going to be interesting, and there's so much more they're going to need to explain, and we're going to have to see. And I bet you next week we're going into the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's going to get even more complicated.
Oh yeah.
That also raises my final question. Are the boys going to continue to age as we go through the decades? And if they are, what exactly are they going to be doing? Because once you fast forwarded the children, it kind of throws me in a loop, because I don't want, for like, the fan in me doesn't want them to be the Simpsons. And we have 30, 40 years of the Simpsons, and Maggie is still a baby. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you're gonna introduce children, I want them to develop and grow. But then with everything going so fast in WandaVision, what roles are they going to play in this show?
And that's gonna be the big question.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that they kind of mentioned too, like when they were watching the FBI outside of the Hex. If they're gonna have those superpowers, if the mom's already as powerful, imagine them. We're gonna have to wait to see how that's gonna turn out. You know what? I think I kind of figured out who's barking back there. I think it's Sparky. I don't think he wants us talking about this.
Yep. And with that, I think we should close it up. Give Sparky his rest, and there he goes. He's all excited. But hey, everybody on the show, please tell them where they could follow you on social media.
You can find me, Tati's Yolani. Sorry, Malik, I totally interrupted before Sparky does. Tati's Yolani on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. Go ahead, Malik, your turn.
You can find me on Malik on Ox, on Twitter, on Instagram. I'm just Malik Patterson on Facebook. Yeah, that's where you can find us. And then where can they find you?
They can find me at a bar. No, just kidding. We can't go to a bar right now. We're still in quarantine. But well, we're not quarantined. I mean, at least they opened up restaurants now, so I'm happy for that. At least I can go outside for at least a little fresh air. But you can find me at Muse_Mike or at Muse TV. And stay tuned. We're going to be back next week. We are here every Friday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, 6:30 Eastern time. And we talk about WandaVision. We're going to be watching next week episode 6 of the show. So stay tuned. And we have a lot of things coming up. And also, I guess we could say this as we're closing it down. Monday, Muse Bites. Muse Bites comes out and premieres on Monday on TikTok. So stay tuned for that. So I'm Mike Sandoval for Malik Patterson and Tatiana Ramirez, even though I confuse me every time I see Tatis there.
Sorry.
We'll see you next week here on Muse TV.
Bye.